Hi everyone, it's Michael Hickey here. I'll be your host for today. We'll just wait maybe 1 or 2 minutes more for a few more people to join. I think the opening session was just finishing up. So we'll just give a few more minutes, a couple more minutes, and then we'll get into our presentation today. While we're doing that, I will just share my screen. What have we got? We'll wait for 5:47 and then we'll get underway. Okay, well, welcome everybody. My name's Michael Hickey. I'm the Director of the Centre for Inflammatory Diseases, and I'll be your host for the next half an hour as we take you through what the student opportunities are here at the Centre for Inflammatory Diseases. So for the next 30 minutes, we'll take you through some of the research being done on our site and what the opportunities are for the various students. And I'll just put up my slides now so that you can see the agenda that we have for today. Okay, wonderful. And so today what we'll have, I'll introduce the centre to you all, and then we'll have four presentations from different laboratories within the centre. We have quite a number of laboratories in the centre. We can't have everybody present today, but it'll give you a good taste of the potential opportunities. And then we'll finish up with a presentation from one of our PhD students, just to tell you a bit about his experience of life as a student and an ex-research assistant as well within the centre. And so why study inflammation? And so I guess irrespective of which organ system you're interested in the body, whether it be the brain or the joints or the kidneys, there's a form of inappropriate inflammation that can result in damage to that organ that can have very severe consequences for patients. And so we know the brain can be affected by diseases such as multiple sclerosis and stroke. We know lungs can be affected by asthma and COPD. The liver can be affected by hepatitis and so on. And some of these inflammatory diseases affect the whole body, particularly systemic lupus erythematosus and sepsis. And so this is an incredibly important problem that remains a difficult problem for patients throughout the world. And although we have therapies for a lot of these conditions, these therapies are not perfect by any means. And so patients will often require lifelong treatment. And some of these treatments have detrimental effects all of their own that you will hear about as we go through today. And so there's really an enormous unmet need to investigate inflammatory disease and try and fix this problem. And that's what we're all about here at the centre. So what is the Centre for Inflammatory Disease? Well, we're located, as you might have seen with the previous presentation, on the Monash Health Translation Precinct campus at Monash Medical Centre. We're a research team comprising of leading clinician scientists and basic scientists who investigate the mechanisms of inflammatory disease. And we have particular interest in inflammatory diseases affecting the kidneys, the brain, the joints, skin, liver and lungs, blood vessels, and infection as it affects patients. And so we cover those particular organs particularly with great focus. And our main approach is to use patient-based observations and to marry those up with state-of-the-art laboratory-based experimental approaches to try and understand how inflammatory diseases works and how we can combat these conditions therapeutically. So some of the researchers, I won't name them all, but we have large groups of people interested in kidney disease. We have people, infectious disease focused people examining lupus erythematosus, skin, intestine, etc. And the point I want to make is many of our researchers, such as Eric Morand here, are also leading clinicians in our hospital system. So Eric is the head of rheumatology, Tony Corman over here is the head of infectious disease. And this gives us a really good understanding of how these conditions affect patients, but at the same time, we have a good understanding of the basic mechanisms of these conditions. And so I encourage you all to go to our website. You can see the address there, or you can just Google Monash Centre for Inflammatory Diseases, and you'll find a long list of all our research leads and the kinds of projects that they're offering for honours and PhD and 399 third year lab-based projects as well. So I'll just quickly tell you a little bit about my laboratory. We're interested in leukocyte trafficking, and what a lot of inflammatory diseases have been studied using histology and static approaches, and you can see these purple cells that are in this area of skin have come into this inflamed tissue and are contributing to damage and dysfunction in this organ. But using this kind of static approach, we don't learn too much about what these cells are doing. And so our laboratory uses videos not playing. That's bad luck. If you can imagine these cells in these videos moving, they should be moving, and we use intravital microscopy, live imaging of models of inflammation in vivo to study the way cells enter sites of inflammation, their behaviour when they get into those sites of inflammation, and what other immune cells they interact with. And Dr. Ursula Norman is particularly interested in my laboratory in the way these cells act in skin inflammatory disease. And we have projects involving glomerulonephritis, inflammatory disease of the kidney, particularly monocytes, T cells and neutrophil trafficking in the glomerulus. We're particularly interested in how regulatory T cells work in inflamed skin. And we're interested in the inflamed lung as well, and starting to understand how neutrophils work in particular aspects of pulmonary inflammatory diseases. So our email addresses are there in front of you there. You can note those down. Again, go to the website and you'll get more information. I'll quickly move on to Connie Wong and the neuroinflammation group. Whoops, sorry, Connie.
No worries. Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. I'm Connie. I'm the head of the neuroinflammation research group here. As most of you know, stroke is a very debilitating disease. In my lab, there's basically 3 broad themes, and hopefully you can see from the diagrams. We believe that they're interlinking, and surrounding those 3 rings, you can see the current ongoing projects we have in the lab. One of the major interests of the lab is we want to understand the effect of stroke on the rest of the body. There's currently no cure for stroke, so we are looking at ways to limit inflammation in the brain to help patients with stroke to recover. And one opportunity to do that is to modulate the activity of immune cells entering the brain. And the left corner brain imaging is supposed to be a video showing immune cells trafficking in the blood vessels in the brain, and we can study this live and watch this process happening. In addition, we're starting to appreciate that patients with stroke suffer from other complications outside the brain, especially the gut and the lung. So our group is trying to understand these biological processes by using state-of-the-art imaging technology in order to discover novel therapeutics for patients. Here you can see on the bottom left is an image showing the interaction between neurons and immune cells in the gut. And here on the right bottom corner, immune cells trafficking in the lung. And we can, again, study this in real time. Lastly, I want to wrap up to tell you that we work closely with clinicians in the stroke unit here in Monash Medical Center to try to find potential biomarkers that can inform doctors better in treating high-risk patients more effectively, and hopefully reduce the risk of complications and also reduce the risk of having the patients suffer another stroke in a short period of time. Now, if you're interested in any of these projects, please feel free to contact me. The email address is pretty simple, connie.wong@monash.edu. I'll leave it to the next person. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Connie. We'll now move on to Sarah Jones from the Rheumatology Research Group.
Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Connie. And I'm really sorry that we can't be meeting up in person this evening, but such is life.
Sarah, can you advance the slides, or do you need me to do it?
I think I need you to do it, please.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you'd go through. Okay. So, and click through again, Michael, please. So our projects span the spectrum across immunology, autoimmunity, a lot of clinical data analysis using patient samples, and also looking for therapeutic targets and biomarkers. And we have a very large group studying lupus, but not just lupus, other rheumatologic diseases as well. We accept almost every student at every level. So if you click through, Michael. As well as spanning a spectrum of focus areas, we also cover fundamental science, translational research, and really interestingly for me, meaningful translation towards clinical outcomes and commercialization outcomes. So click again, please, Michael. Thank you. And again. So just to focus on some of the lab work that we've got going on at the moment, one of our main goals is to discover new biology and develop new drugs that can ultimately replace glucocorticoids. Next slide, please. So glucocorticoids are used in the majority of patients with autoimmune diseases and inflammatory diseases because they very strongly and effectively suppress the immune system across many areas that cause trouble. So 2% of the population takes chronic glucocorticoids and 5% of the population takes occasional glucocorticoids, with a very large market. Click through, please. So steroids, glucocorticoids are also called steroids. They're used because they have these anti-inflammatory effects, but they invariably cause a large number of severe side effects. So if you click again, please, the discovery of an alternative therapy is something that we're going after with a lot of focus. It's a major global unmet need. So if you click again. So what we're doing at the moment to try and find new targets is we're currently running a whole genome CRISPR screen to discover new drug targets. So this is where we're taking individual cells, we are knocking out individual genes within those cells and looking for our effect that we want to create with a new drug. And what this does, if you click one more time, Michael, please, it's going to generate a very large number of exciting new student projects that will cover autoimmunity and immunology at the levels of cellular biology, biochemistry, and molecular biology, and importantly, with the drug discovery and commercialization focus. So if any of this is interesting to you, please reach out to us. We've got a lot of work going on and it's very exciting.
There's Sarah. .a.jones's email address. If you want to, don't forget the .a. Thank you, Sarah. We'll move on to Dr. Kim OSullivan from the Autoimmune Kidney Disease and Vasculitis Research Group.
Hi everyone, as Michael said, my name is Kim and I've been part of the Autoimmune Kidney Disease and Vasculitis Research Group now for about 19 years. And this group is headed by two clinical physician scientists, Professor Richard Kitching and Professor Stephen Holdsworth. And we're a fairly large group with quite a diverse range of people. We have clinicians doing PhDs, we have third-year research projects, and we have basic science students and biomed students as well. If you click through to the next slide, please, Michael. Why study kidney disease? Well, worldwide kidney disease kills more people than breast and prostate cancer or road accidents combined. Yet that doesn't make headlines, which is why 1 in 3 people go undiagnosed with this disease. In Australia alone, 56 Australians a day die of kidney-related disease. 1,087 Australians are currently waiting for a kidney transplant. Next, please, Michael. How is our research group tackling this health promotion? So firstly, we study autoimmune and inflammatory kidney diseases that currently have no effective treatment without severe side effects. So currently there's vasculitis, that's inflammation of the small blood vessels. We have glomerulonephritis, which is inflammation of the filtration unit of the kidney, the glomerulus. We have acute kidney injury and infection-induced kidney disease. And what all of these things have in common is that they are treated by high doses of glucocorticoids, just like Sarah indicated previously, and cyclophosphamide. And what this does is it renders the patient severely immunocompromised. And an example of this is with vasculitis. In the first year of diagnosis, 30% of patients die from infection, not the disease. So you can see there's a real unmet need to find targeted therapy to help this set of patients. And to do this, what we're trying to do is we use clinical samples, human kidney biopsies, immune cells, and relevant animal models that replicate the disease seen in man. Next, please, Michael. And what we do is we determine potential novel therapeutic targets, and we use cutting-edge technology to either block or modulate the pathogenic immune cells. Next, please. And this work is published in the highest ranked renal journals, as well as Nature, Nature Communications, and PNAS. And before the pandemic, we also were able to attend international conferences that have great weight in the field of renal pathology, such as the American Society of Nephrology and the American Associations of Immunologists. Most importantly, next please, Michael, is we're quite successful at translating novel laboratory discoveries into clinical trials. Next slide. So, I've already indicated the heads of this group are Professor Richard Kitching and Professor Stephen Holdsworth. The other 4 people that support them are myself, Dr. Maliha Alikan, Dr. Po Yi Gan, and Dr. Dragana Odo-Basic. And although we have very diverse research themes, they're all really highly complementary. For example, next please, Michael, Professor Richard Kitching and Dr. Maliha Alikan both study cyclomegalovirus and look at this role in the progression of vasculitis, whereas Professor Stephen Holdsworth and Dr. Po Yi Gan are studying the role of mast cells in ischemic reperfusion injury after bypass. Dr. Dragana Odo-Basic, for instance, is looking at cellular therapy, where she's looking at tolerogenic D cells and human amniotic epithelial cells to try to attenuate and give tolerance to the disease vasculitis. Myself, I am inhibiting the formation of neutrophil extracellular traps, which are pathogenic in vasculitis as they damage the small blood vessels in the kidney. And what I'm trying to do is trying to stop this pathogenic form of cell death, but while also preserving the function of neutrophils, which is our first line of defence. So this is not a very long list of projects that are available. Any one of these researchers would be happy to talk to you. So if we go to our next slide, please, Michael. Come and join the fight in kidney disease. Come and look at us in 2022. We have honours projects, we have third-year research and action projects, we have master's degrees and PhD projects available. You can contact myself and I can put you in contact with the relevant people. And down below there, you can also see the website where you can learn more about vasculitis. Thank you, and thanks for coming out tonight.
Thanks very much, Kim. Now it's, I'm just going to stop sharing for a moment. Is Peter on the call?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Great. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So hi, everybody. My name's Peter Eggenhausen, and I'm a PhD student in the Center for Inflammatory Disease. And first, I'd like to just talk about my development a little bit, because it's an unconventional pathway. I started off with a Bachelor of Science, and before progressing to honours, I went overseas and did a lab internship in the Czech Republic. And there's a picture of me on the left looking very serious next to a Sanger sequencer. When I came back to Melbourne, I got a job as a research assistant in the Centre for Inflammatory Diseases. And after a number of years as an RA, I finally got the courage to embark upon a PhD in the CID. And on the right-hand side, there's a picture of me looking much happier in the CID. So my PhD is broken into two main parts. The first part being a COVID-19 project, because there's no time like the present to do that. It's looking at T-cell cross-reactivity to vaccines. And the next part of my PhD is a project looking at developing a T-cell based therapy for autoimmune diseases such as lupus. And I wouldn't be able to do these really challenging and exciting projects without great supervision from my PhD supervisors, both Joshua Owie and Po-Yi Gan, as well as the support offered by the Graduate Research Office, namely Danny. So what's a PhD all about? Well, it's about professional development. And in the CID, it's all about translational research. So that means a group of basic scientists, clinicians, and clinician scientists all working together at the back of the hospital to try and understand the pathogenesis of disease and, improve the therapies to ultimately lead to better patient outcomes. So it's the lab work, and it's also not just at Monash. It's an internationally connected group of people with collaborators all over the world. So there's a picture of me in Changsha, China, with some Chinese collaborators. And internationally, I'm also able to present my research on a world stage. I can attend international conferences, I can publish in international journals. So it's a great opportunity to do a PhD in this fashion. In addition to the research component, there's also some coursework. So I'm undertaking two coursework units, the first being clinical trials and the second being bioinformatics, which are two fields like I feel need strengthening. And in addition to that, the course also allows me to enhance my multidisciplinary skills, such as scientific writing and giving presentations like this one. So overall, it's an opportunity to make real change and to improve patient outcomes. It's not all serious business and research. CID is also a socially connected support network where we all look after each other. And I, wouldn't be here without the support from the CID. So I thought I'd just share some pictures of us having a good time pre-COVID with lots of cake and food, of course. And thank you for listening.
Thanks, Peter. Maybe while I've got you there, a question while people think about questions they might want to ask any of the speakers tonight. Peter, can you tell us a little bit about what made you want to change from being a research assistant to being a PhD student, and how you've found the difference? What's the key differences you've seen in that transition?
Yeah, so I'd been an RA for a number of years. So I felt like it was challenging enough, but I felt like I needed more of a challenge. And PhD was a great opportunity for me to really get my teeth into some really meaningful research. So it was a good opportunity, being located in the CID to start a PhD. It was kind of a natural move for my professional development.
And in terms of techniques and skills, even though you'd been a research assistant for quite some time, you have continued to learn new techniques, correct?
Yeah, that's right. I guess doing a PhD gives you a certain degree of, autonomy to take control over your project, as well as having, regular guidance when necessary. So I've been able to do some cool new techniques, such as single cell whole genomic sequencing, and even to develop a cell-based therapy for lupus. I thought, it's a great challenge and pretty cool at the same time.
So we have one question in the chat from New, I guess asking about your pathway to becoming a research assistant. So how did you make your way back from the Czech Republic, and
Yeah, that's a really good question. And yeah, so I guess I didn't do honors straight away because I felt like I'd been at uni for a while. I was already there for 5 years. So yeah, I went to Europe, and it gave me the internships gave me enough skills to get a job as a research assistant. So I think, has that answered the question?
I guess so. So are there any other questions out there? You can either put up your hand if you want to ask them, or you can type them into the chat. While you're doing that, I'll just put up the screen that has our contact details here at CID of the people that have spoken today. I think, Kim, I might have mistyped your email address. Is there an apostrophe in it or not?
No, there is not.
No apostrophe. Okay.
Yep, no apostrophe.
So
thanks.
No need for that punctuation. So, okay. So if we haven't got any more questions, anything else in the chat? So we've got a little bit more time. If there's somewhere I can find the projects available at CID for 2022, there's I think it's on the School of Clinical Sciences website. There was a project booklet put together, but in fact, the best thing to actually do is to directly contact the people, because we don't get much space to elaborate on our projects that we have. And so reach out, find the people that are working in the areas that you're interested in, whether it's stroke, whether it's kidney disease, whether it's lupus, and email those people directly, and they will be able to tell you more about the projects that they have available in a bit more detail. And some projects, honours projects, might be sort of fairly restricted, and PhD projects will tend to be more all-encompassing, but definitely reach out to the people that are working in the areas that you're interested in. They'd really love to hear from you.
Michael, please allow me to add also that I also is the departmental postgraduate coordinator. So for honours student out there or master student out there who's interested in doing PhD, I might be able to help in answering some question about how to apply for PhD and also the associated scholarships as well. So please don't hesitate to contact me if you have those queries as well.
And it's important to note that it doesn't matter whether you're external to Monash. You certainly don't have to be a Monash student at the moment. We'll take students from, even if you've just done undergrad at one institution, you can certainly come across to Monash to do your honours year and or your PhD. Okay, well, we're running pretty much on time. There's another session about to start in 2 minutes. So I'd like to thank all of you for attending this evening, and thank the lovely presenters from CID, and hope to hear from some of you in the near future. Thank you very much, everybody. See you later.